Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the continuing series of discussions on the African Continental Free Trade Area Agreement. We are now covering the 7 chapters in the handbook on importing and exporting in Kenya. As I said in the last presentation, we must understand the meaning of terms and document names used in the whole of the handbook. Let me take you through more definitions. My name is Isaac Kamande. Exemption from duty. Duty is not charged on the goods specified when imported or purchased before clearance through customs. Export processing zone. Export processing zone is a designated part of customs territory where any goods introduced are generally regarded, insofar as import duties and taxes are concerned, as being outside customs territory but are restricted by controlled access. Free on board. The seller fulfills his obligation to deliver when the goods have passed over the ship's rail at the named port of shipment. The buyer, therefore, has to bear all the costs and risks of loss or damage to the goods from that point. A free port. A free port is a port at which goods can enter free of customs, and the goods are usually for re-export. Identical goods. Identical goods are goods which are the same in all respects, including physical characteristics, quality, and reputation. Import declaration form. An import declaration form is a form that is prepared by the clearance agent and is required for all imports. It contains a summary of the information contained in the supporting documents such as the invoice, the packing list, certificate of origin, the seller's and importer's names, addresses, and related details. Letter of credit. A letter of credit is a specialized instrument of international trade designed to facilitate trade between exporters and importers. It is issued by a bank to the seller at the request of the buyer. It guarantees payment to the seller if the terms and conditions specified in the letter of credit are fulfilled. Manifest. A manifest is a detailed list of cargo being carried on board by a carrier, for example, in an aircraft or a ship, and it includes quantity, identifying marks, consignor and consignee of each item. Manufacturing at a bond. Manufacturing at a bond is a facility extended to manufacturers to import plant, machinery, equipment, and raw materials tax-free for exclusive use in the manufacture of goods for export. Most favored nation. A trade policy commitment. Most favored nation is a trade policy commitment on the part of one nation to extend to another nation tariff rates as low as applies to any other most favored nations, and to treat imports from that nation without discrimination. Thus, if a WTO member country grants another country any tariff or benefit on any product, it must unconditionally extend this benefit to the right products of other countries. The principle is therefore that member countries should not discriminate among countries and not treat a country less favorably than another country in all aspects connected with foreign trade in goods. However, there are exceptions to the most favored nation rule. For example, preferential treatment under regional trading agreements such as the East African Community and COMESA. Packing list. Packing list is a statement listing in detail the contents of a particular package. It should show some marks and number of packages, gross and net weights, measurements, and description of contents of each package. Partner states. The Republic of Uganda, the Republic of Kenya, and the United Republic of Tanzania, as well as the other countries of Rwanda, Burundi, DRC, and South Sudan are granted membership to the East African community, and they are referred to as partner states. Phytosanitary inspection. This is a form of inspection by an agency of a national government to certify that a shipment is free from harmful pests and plant diseases. The agency responsible for phytosanitary inspection in Kenya is the Kenya Plant Health Inspectorate Service, KEFIS. Preferential tariff treatment. This is a situation where a country gives preferential treatment to imports from some countries by imposing lower rates on duty on goods imported from these countries. Pre-shipment inspection. This is the inspection of goods before they leave the country of origin. Pre-shipment inspection is done to determine the quality, quantity, value, duties, and taxes applicable. A report or certificate is issued which should accompany the import clearance documents. The pre-shipment inspection program in Kenya has been phased out since July 1st, 2005, and the Kenya Bureau of Standards has taken over the role of inspection of goods with regards to quality. The Kenya Revenue Authority is charged with destination inspection, including scanning, physical verification, and examination of goods before release from customs control. Principle of asymmetry. The principle of asymmetry is a principle which addresses variances in the implementation of measures in an economic integration process for purposes of achieving a common objective. Prohibited goods. Prohibited goods are goods whose importation, exportation, or carriage coastwise is prohibited under the provisions of the country's laws. A proper officer. A proper officer is any officer whose right or duty it is to require the performance of or to perform the act referred to. Rate of exchange. Rate of exchange is the price at which the currency of one country can be exchanged for the currency of another country. Refund. The refund or repayment of duties already collected. This could be the refund of overpaid charges, for example, import or export duty paid in error. The Commissioner may also grant a refund of import duty paid in respect of goods which have been damaged or destroyed during the voyage or while subject to customs control. Remission. Remission is the waiver of duty or refrainment from exacting of duty. Restricted goods. Restricted goods are goods whose importation, exportation, or carriage coastwise is prohibited, save in accordance with conditions regulating it. All goods whose importation, exportation, or carriage coastwise is in any way regulated by or under the Restricted Goods Act or any other written law. Rules of origin. Rules of origin are rules which set the criteria for determining the origin of a product. They are used to differentiate products for preferential or normal treatment. For example, a product which is deemed to originate from a certain country may be eligible for preferential treatment, while the same product from a different country is not granted the same treatment. Similar goods. Similar goods are goods which are not alike in all respects but have characteristics and like component materials which may enable them to perform the same functions and to be commercially interchangeable. Standard. A Kenyan standard is a precise and an authoritative statement of the criteria necessary to ensure that a material, product, or procedure is fit for the purpose for which it is intended. Kenya standards fall into 6 categories, namely groceries or definitions of terminology, dimensional standards, performance standards, standard methods of test, codes of practice, and measurement standards. Standards serve as guides for the production of goods and provision of services and provide a basis for trade transactions. Subsidy. A subsidy is an assistance by a government or public body in the production, manufacture of, or export of specific goods through direct payments such as grants, loans, or measures with equivalent effects such as fiscal incentives and tax credits. Where subsidies are deemed to cause injury to the Kenyan industry, countervailing duties are charged to offset the subsidy. Tax remission for exports office. This is a scheme that is administered by the Ministry of Finance that offers incentives to exporters by remitting duty and VAT on raw materials used in the manufacture of goods for export. It also provides for tax remission on inputs to make goods defined as essential for the domestic market. Taxpayers Charter. This is a document published by the Kenya Revenue Authority setting out the taxpayers' rights and obligations. Test report or certificate. This is a document evidencing compliance with certain requirements or providing the results of tests or analysis that have been done. Trade/GDP ratio. This is used as a measure of a country's openness or integration with the world economy. This is a measure of the ease with which goods and services, information, capital, and other factors of production flow between the domestic economy and the rest of the world. A high trade to GDP ratio indicates greater integration into the world economy. Trade in services. Trade in services is characterized by the movement of factors of production, mainly labor and capital. The services can be supplied in 4 ways as described by the World Trade Organization's General Agreement on Trade in Services, namely cross-border, consumption abroad, commercial presence, and the movement of people. Transit shed. Transit shed is in a building appointed by the Commissioner in Lighting for the deposit of goods subject to customs control. Transaction value. The price actually paid or payable for the goods when sold for export to the country of importation. This is adjusted by valuation factors, which are the various elements that must be taken into account in determining the customs value. Value added tax. Value added tax is an indirect tax on consumption that is assessed on the increased value of goods at each discrete point in the chain of production and distribution from the raw material stage to final consumption. The tax on processors or merchants is levied on the amount by which they increase the value of items they purchase and resell. World Trade Organization. This is the global trade organization which succeeded the General Agreement on Tariffs and Trade. Its main objective is to help trade flow smoothly, freely, fairly, and predictably. It has a membership of nearly 150 members. Zero rate. Zero rate is a tariff rate at 0%, such as 0% custom duty charged on the value of an imported product. Thank you for listening. I'll see you next time.